Hope lives always. Ever so often, somebody comes up to me and they ask me this question: Pastor, how am I supposed to pray? Teach me how to pray. And I know that somewhere in that question, somewhere behind the scenes and between the lines, is this idea that I know the format, the right way to pray, that God will somehow listen and take heed to what you are saying if you use my format, then whichever way you happen to be praying now. And that's just not true. The reality is I've heard lots of different ways to pray in my life, very different from one another, and equally powerful for different reasons. My father-in-law, he prays one way. My stepdad, when he prays, he always says, Father God, a few times in the prayer, over and over reminding himself who God is and lifting up who God is. One of my favorite ways I've ever heard came from my child, my daughter, when she was about 3. She was praying at dinner, and it sounded like this. And I said, can you speak up? We can't hear you. And she said, well, I'm not talking to you. Like that idea that you believe that God is listening and you know God is listening to a point where it's not about who hears it. And my mother-in-law, when she would pray, she would talk to God like this. The beginnings of her prayer almost always started with, hey, God. So, as if they were friends. She spoke to God the same way you talk to a close friend. There are none of these ways to pray that are any more sacred than another. If anything, the best way to pray, Jesus taught, and that's the Lord's Prayer. And that shows you another way to pray. The reality is there's no right or wrong way to pray. We just need to pray. And hope's the same way. There's no right or wrong way to hope. It's going to look different. It's going to sound different. It's going to feel different for each person. But that doesn't mean it's any less effective. Because hope lives always.